Hey guys, Liesel Communications. Welcome to my review of Air Force One. 1997 film directed by Wolfgang Petersen, starring Harrison Ford. And I watched this one again. I've been wanting to watch this one for a while anyway. And I thought it would be a perfect time to check it out again because I mentioned it in my Non-Stop review. And I said I liked it more than Non-Stop. And I watched it again. It's still true. This is my favorite film of that genre, of the airplane hijacking genre. My favorite movie. Because it breaks the convention. It jumps out of the box. It says, okay, we're on Air Force One. We have more space. We don't have to be a whodunit. We don't have to be, whole idea, the good guy knows who the terrorist is, but other people, we know, the audience know who the terrorist is, but the good guy doesn't. We don't have to do that. We're going to have an in-your-face plot. Where in the first 20 minutes, terrorists are going to take over the plane. You're going to think that the president got off it, but the president is actually still on the plane. And he's going to go one by one, Rambo style, take out these motherfucking terrorists, like Die Hard on a plane, pretty much, and try his best to save the people on the plane, take care of some other politics that are going on, on the ground, in Russia, and kick ass and save his family. Simple plot, not a lot of bullshit. It's to the point, and it's just thrilling as hell to watch this movie. It's entertaining, it's thrilling, it's exciting. It's the type of film I miss watching in the theater, especially in the action genre. Action films lately nowadays have been really big letdowns for me. I mean, it just pisses me off. We used to have such quality action films like this. Sure, it's not the most realistic, but you know what? I don't give a fuck about that. Is this a documentary about Air Force One? No, it's an action movie. It's a big budget, blockbuster action movie. I can suspend my disbelief. Trust me. I can do that for the sake of entertainment. What I think the action genre has done way too much of nowadays is said we gotta be realistic. We gotta be really realistic. Those films in the 90s, like Air Force One, and the 80s films and so forth. Those were fantasy. Those were like science fiction bullshit. We gotta be more grounded in reality, because that's really what the action films should be. Bullshit, my fucking dick. That's not what the action genre should be. The action genre didn't become popular, one of the most popular genres in the 80s and 90s, because it was fucking realistic. It became the most popular because it was escapism. It was entertaining. It was explosions. It was gunplay. It was unique ways of having explosions and gunplay. It was guys spouting one-liners. It was action heroes who were believable in their roles and not people who you can't buy 1 second, 1 iota that they can kick anybody's ass. Sorry, Matt Damon. Sorry, Adrian Brody. Not gonna cut it. So it just seems like nowadays, what do we got for action heroes? Channing Tatum? Oh, well, maybe The Rock. Great. Sad. Jason Statham. Well, we have Jason Statham star in a movie like Homefront where he barely gets to do jack shit of anything, and that's the problem. A lot of action movies, you have just barely no goddamn action in them. And if it is there, it's not that memorable. That's why I liked Olympus Has Fallen, because it had some action in it, but it still wasn't nearly as good as something like this. It just blows my mind how much the action genre has fallen flat on its goddamn ass. It's like it can't get up. It's like the action genre is like, help, I'm falling and I can't get up, and it's not bothering to get up. It's just laying on its fat, lazy ass and getting fatter and fatter each and every week. And nothing's being done about it. Because it's supposedly, that's what's popular now, is the serious action movie. And I know who to blame for that. It's fucking Christopher Nolan. I like Nolan's films, but god damn it, the unbelievable success of The Dark Knight caused a chain reaction that just caused a stream of action movies that come out that just are not even, barely even action films. They're more dramas and mystery thrillers than anything else. And so you have an action film being put in theaters, like Homefront, that's being labeled as an action movie, but it isn't an action film. It's more, really, honestly, a thriller. And stop misleading me with shit like The Grey. Or like, it's an action thriller, and it's a survival action movie. It's bullshit. It's not a fucking survival action movie. Nobody survives, and that's the worst survival movie ever. And there's no action in it. God, it's... I could rant on for hours about this, because I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about the action genre. It's one of my favorite action genres. And I just feel that it is really sucking lately. Sucking. And when you have homages to the original 80s stuff, like Expendables 2, they don't take it seriously, so it's just a big joke, which I don't think is the right approach. So, yeah, you know, I just don't get it. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't want, you know, an hour or longer than that of exposition and character building and development and like maybe 30 minutes of action scenes in a 2-hour-long movie. I don't want that. I want a movie that has action, action, action. And it's not like this is action, 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 but it balances the action scenes well with serious moments. And the action that does happen is memorable, and it's entertaining, and it's actually thrilling to watch, and it's inventive, and it's unique. Have we forgotten to be unique and inventive in action movies? No, we did. We did that in movies like From Paris with Love and Shoot 'Em Up, but they were box office flops. Oh, we also did that in a movie like Dread 3D, but they were flops. Which pisses me off because you have good action movies like that who use the action genre to its fullest potential, and you have shit, this lazy-ass bullshit. I know it's just a comedy, but it's kind of labeled an action comedy. Shit, like Ride Along, make $100 million and have no action sequences in it worth a damn. And that's where the action genre is going now. That's what I've kind of noticed, is the action genre is going more over to the action comedy genre with barely no goddamn memorable action sequences. Even The Heat, which I enjoyed, had pretty much shitty action sequences. Subpar, anyway. Rather than straight-up action films. You want to find a straight-up action film? You're going to go direct to DVD with a film like Ninja 2 with Scott Adkins. But it's direct to DVD. It's not in theaters. So you can't have that experience watching that badass movie with some of the most awesome martial arts fights I've seen in a movie in years. We can't watch that in a theater. Something like The Raid Redemption. We're going to have that in limited release. So you can't see that, and you were lucky if you saw that in the theater. That's what I'm saying. It's frustrating. It's like, that's why I watch movies like this over and over again. Because this is the type of action film I like. The kind of action film I want to see. That kind of action film I would pay to see. One that is actually breathtaking, gripping, nail-biting, edge-of-your-seat entertainment. Not sitting on my ass being like, looking at my watch, wondering how long this movie's going to last, and just bored out of my goddamn mind. So anyway, yeah. But yeah, it's not only just the approach that Air Force One has that is missing from action films, a unique approach. And this is really surprising to me, now that I started thinking about that. It's one of the most typical things that you would think would be normal and expected of an action movie. A big star. In this film, you have Harrison Ford as President James Marshall, the most badass president who ever lived. You have Gary Oldman on the other side as Ivan. Great villain. Great performance. Charismatic. Just memorable. You buy his what he's trying to get across. You're intimidated by him. You buy that, Harrison Ford and Gary Oldman can go toe-to-toe and sparks will fly. And it'll be an entertaining and thrilling experience watching these two play chess. Chess matches with bullets and their wits. What do we got today? I'm going to take an example from one of the more recent movies that has this sort of plot. Olympus Has Fallen. What have we got? We got on one side Gerard Butler kicking ass. Other side, Dylan McDermott and fucking... I think it's Dylan McDermott. Dylan McDermott and fucking... Corey Yoon? Corey who? See what I'm talking about? It's like, what the fuck is happening in the action genre? Think of every great action movie. Think of every really, really good classic action film. One thing is a constant. There's always a good protagonist, and there's always an equally good antagonist. There's a great good guy, and there's a great bad guy. Sometimes there's a few movies here and there that have, that I like. They don't have the greatest bad guys, but usually that's the case. Hard Target. You have Van Damme. You have Lance Henriksen. Die Hard. You have Bruce Willis. You have Alan Rickman. I can go on and on with these. You have Commando. You have Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you have Vernon Wells. The best action movies have a good antagonist. They can hold his own and is on equal footing usually with the main character, with the hero. Non-stop. You got Liam Neeson being a badass, but you got nerdy white guy and Jamie Foxx look alike. Jamie Foxx's brother. No contest. What the fuck has happened to the action genre? Is it just being lazy now? I mean, you have Jason Statham and James Franco. I love James Franco. But I don't buy him for 1 second kicking Jason Statham's ass, and he doesn't do jack shit in Homefront. He gets his ass kicked in 2 seconds. You don't have that dynamic now, and it's sorely missing from the action genre. Even Van Damme in The Expendables, he wasn't the main villain. Like, you had so many other things going on. The movie wasn't taking itself seriously. The Expendables 2. And you had like a short, but I thought was kind of sweet fight between him and Stallone. But, like, he didn't leave that much of an impact. That's what I'm saying. What the fuck is happening in the action genre? Gary Oldman is 10 times more memorable and enthralling and breathtaking to watch his performance, because he's a consummate professional and a fantastic actor, than any action hero, any villain in any action film I've seen in the past 5-6 years, bar none, no questions asked. I don't want to hear this shit, well, that's in the past. Bullshit, it's not in the past. This is an action genre. This should be typical, and it was typical for years, that you would have a good villain and you would have an equally good hero. So you have an equally good villain and an equally good hero. It makes fucking perfect sense. But no, we have shit like Lockout, where we have a great hero and a shitty villain. And then you have a great hero, who doesn't get to do jack shit and has no hero moments. This has hero moments. This has Harrison Ford kicking ass, taking names, the memorable scene, get off my plane. He has his moments. Snow didn't have his moments. He had jack shit and nothing. He had some fun one-liners, but he never had his moment. That's frustrating. To see an action film like that get put into theaters that doesn't have the typical sort of things you expect from an action movie. I don't want to hear the shit where it's like, well, it's different. You know what? Just because it's different doesn't mean it's good. And when it comes to the action genre, I'd rather it be cliched than being fucking out of character and stupid. I'd rather have explosions and gunplay a la Michael Bay any day of the week over boring-ass exposition dialogue and short, blinking-you-miss-it action sequences with fucking the camera shaking all over which way but loose. Camera shaking every which way but loose. I'd rather have a Michael Bay action movie than that. Because that's what I want my action film to be. Sorry. If I want a thinking man's action movie, I'll watch I'll watch a thriller. Okay? If I want to watch an action movie, I want guns, I want testosterone, I want explosions, I want one-liners being flung by the hero, I want a bad guy who I'm intimidated by and want him to get his ass kicked and beat to death or shot in the face by the hero. I want that. Fast and the Furious films do that alright. But once again, I hope the next one, and sadly, Paul Walker's passing, it's making it a little bit harder, but Jason Statham really played the bad guy in that. That would give that franchise a villain who you could really be like, oh shit, like things have really gotten serious now. But even in that franchise, Fast 5, Fast 6, they don't have villains that you're like, yeah, That guy's really, really memorable. That's what the fuck happened in the memorable villains and action movies nowadays? Step it up! This is pathetic. When you have CGI animated kids movies that have more memorable villains, when you have the most memorable villain for this generation, for a lot of people, is Loki. Who, no offense to gay people, one of my best friends is gay, but he's one of the most effeminate acting badasses I've ever seen in my life. That's your role. That's how pathetic it is. That the main most memorable villain for action genre is fucking Loki. Step your goddamn game up, because it's fucking tragic. Anyway, so yeah, so I'm saying, unique action sequences, unique ways of doing things out of the box. Like I said about Air Force One, out of the box. They're on Air Force One. They have more room on the plane. They find interesting ways for, they don't land the plane cliche like a cliche. They actually have a cool way where they zip line off the plane before it crashes. Awesome. I loved seeing that. Who gives a shit if it's realistic? It jumped out of the goddamn box and did its own thing, and did it well. So, you have that, and it's just a fun movie. It's a fun film. It doesn't take itself too seriously. There's some wink at the audience moments. There's some moments where it's trying to pull your heartstrings, but it effectively pulls your heartstrings. Sequences with the hostage scenarios are very pulse-pounding, nail-biting sequences. These people, you really don't want them to die. They're innocent people. And you don't want them to get shot by some crazy-ass Russian. And then you have the Russian character, Ivan. He's believable in his intent. Gary Oldman is such a great actor that you believe that he's this character. You are fully immersed in this illusion that he's created, that he is this character. Just like Harrison Ford and the rest of the cast, you were fully immersed in their characters. It's not just acting anymore. They have become these characters. And that's great acting to me, is when the actor becomes a chameleon, and you don't really see Harrison Ford as the president of the United States. You see James Marshall. You don't see Gary Oldman as Ivan. You see Ivan. You just see Ivan. That's what I'm saying. That's great acting. Because I've seen a lot of movies lately in the action genre where it's wink. I'm Channing Tatum and I'm an action hero. I'm this guy, and it takes a good actor to make you not look at them as just, oh, here's a big name actor. No, you really get into their role and you believe in what they're doing, and you believe it's not acting anymore. You believe that it's reality. And I think Air Force One did a great job with that. And the camera techniques are great, the way it was shot, the way it was edited, and the score by Jerry Goldsmith. And finding out that he had 12 days to do this, because the original guy they hired, and Randy Newman, the Wolfgang Petersen took one listen to score and thought it was a joke. So he was scrambling to find a composer, and he got Jerry Goldsmith to do it, my all-time favorite music composer. And he knocks it out of the park. And he had 12 days to do this, and it's one of my favorite scores of his. I love the main theme. It's more memorable than any theme I've heard in the theater in the past 4 years, easily. Dun 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 dun. Very memorable. Awesome theme. Even though in some ways it does kind of sound like the score he did for First Contact. But, he had 12 days. So he turned in a score that was very memorable, I thought, and really helped the film a lot. Goldsmith's score, every bit, in my opinion, is one of the reasons why this film is so great to me. Because in the action sequences, the score just adds so much to it. Remind me of Rambo at times, and that's awesome. I want to think of Rambo when I'm watching an action movie, and that kind of music, think of action, I think of Rambo music, and I think of Jerry Goldsmith, and he did a great job with action sequences in this film, adding even more thrills and excitement to them with his music. And I think that's another thing that Hollywood and the action movies today have kind of forgotten about. The importance of a score. A memorable score. A main theme that can stick with you. That resonates with you. And a lot of action movies today don't have that anymore. You had the Rambo theme. You had the theme from this movie. You had a lot of memorable themes. I mean, heck, the score from Avenging Force of Michael Dudikoff is more memorable than half the shit that came out, half the scores in action movies lately. A lot of movies today just have forgettable-ass scores. Sure, you have every now and then a surprising one like Oblivion or Gravity or a little bit of Man of Steel, but a lot of it's just forgettable. And, like, it doesn't add anything to the film. What happened? Show more importance to the music, because the music is also a big important part of filmmaking. And it seems like a lot of movies nowadays seem to think it's not that important. And that's bullshit. This movie, I don't think, would be nearly as great to me if it wasn't for a collaborative effort of Harrison Ford's excellent performance, Gary Oldman's equally excellent performance, the supporting cast who did a great job, Glenn Close, Wendy Crewson, Paul Guilfoyle, William H. Macy, Dean Stockwell. You know, the direction, the writing, the story, and the music. That is important to make a great, memorable movie to me, is to have a score that is also memorable and also adds to the film. A lot of scores nowadays don't add to the film, or in a case like the RoboCop remake, detract from the movie. Stop being lazy with your scores. Stop being lazy with your casting. Stop being lazy with your plots. Let's put our creative, collaborative minds together, Hollywood, and writers, and write an action film that is both entertaining and interesting and enthralling and unique, and not just blah, 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 shaky cam, couple shots, and a story. Bring back charisma to the action genre. It's sorely lacking, and it needs it to survive. I don't care. It's been there, done that. Bullshit. It needs charisma to carry on. If you continue to make boring-ass action movies, that genre will just be replaced by mystery thrillers, and I don't want that to happen. So bring back charisma, or just don't call it an action movie then. If you're going to release a movie that has no charisma, no interesting action sequences, not really, enthralling, don't market it as an action film nonstop. Don't market it as an action film, because it's not an action movie, and that's a pet peeve of mine. Even though the movie was okay, wasn't the worst thing ever, but don't market shit something it isn't, because it's stupid. You're just lying to me. Bold-faced lying to me. The person who's going to pay money to see the movie in the theater, you're lying to me. Yeah, Robbie Rod with their 10 freaking Predator lights on Adrian Brody's chest. And Predators. It was bullshit, because there was not 10 Predators in that movie. That's what I'm saying. Stop lying to us and just give us what we want to see. Customer is always right. I don't want to see action movies that are boring, talky, and pretentious, and want to be Chris Nolan films. I want to see movies like this that are entertaining, thrilling, put a smile on your face, also connect with you emotionally. I want to see action films like that again. Not this fucking tired, boring-ass, slow-moving slug piss. I don't want to fucking see it. It's nasty. It's disgusting. I'm done. I hate to say it. The action genre, much like the horror genre, fucking sucks now. Step up the fucking game. I mean, shit. At least theatrically. Direct-to-video, there's some decent ones. But that's sad. They were going backwards. Used to be like, it's like... You got PM Entertainment movies and better action movies than a lot of movies today. And you got direct-to-video movies, once again, like Ninja 2, that are better than a lot of action films today. You got a movie from 1997 that is 10 times better than any action movie in the past 10 years. No excuse for it. It's just laziness. It's laziness and being like, we can't do, well, that's been done before. We can't do any better. So we'll just be half-assed it. It's been done before. Now we can be really, truly 100% original. Well, it doesn't hurt to try. It doesn't hurt to try. And also, when you're being original, don't deviate too far from the path. There's a really fine line between a good action movie and piece of shit. Not having a memorable villain is a mistake. Get that shit in order. So anyway, yeah, really enjoy Air Force One. I really don't know what to say. I love this film. It's a straightforward movie. It's not really a super in-depth review because it's a straightforward film. There's really not a lot that I could add some behind-the-scenes stuff, but there's not the effects though by Richard Edlund, I loved watching them because it was a lot of model work, a lot of stuff that you don't see nowadays, and there was a little bit of CGI, but the effects were excellent special effects. Maybe a little bit of chintzy stuff at the end when the plane crashes, but excellent special effects. Great to look at. Practical explosions, models blowing up, great effects. Great effects. Really added to the film, too, that you had believable effect sequences. Like when the tanker plane explodes and the Air Force One is going underneath it. Great shot. A lot of great shots in this. I love the fight scenes between James Marshall, Harrison Ford, and the villains. They're not, super quick and, blink and you miss them because they're not shaky cam. So you could see Harrison Ford's fist landing on some guy's face and you can hear it and you can feel it. Be like, ooh, man, there's like a certain, intensity to it. A lot of action sequences now are like, slap fight, shaky cam, and doesn't register at all. You're not like, oh, you don't feel, here, you feel it. It's just like, bam, feel it. That's really unique, too, the idea that you have of the president, he stowed away in the plane, and now he's the one that's supposed to, play the John McClane. I like that idea. I like that idea. That was a cool idea, and they had a great actor to pull that off. And, great lines of dialogue, like this line, which I love, one of my favorite lines of the film. One of the few things where you get to really know about the character of James Marshall. He was at this, meeting and, this conference in Russia. Never again will I allow our political self-interest to deter us from doing what we know to be morally right. Atrocity and terror are not political weapons, and to those who would use them, your day is over. We will never negotiate. We will no longer tolerate, and we will no longer be afraid. It's your turn to be afraid. I like that. It's great. And like I said, it's topical now, because we're still dealing with that shit. North Korea and all this crap and all the others. Russia trying to go into, what is it, Siberia or something? There comes to a certain point where morality, yes, can cloud people's judgment when it comes to politics and other sort of things. But also comes to a certain point when you just do what's right. And letting people do fucking terroristic actions to get what they want is bullshit. And it should be, put an end to it. But there's not enough people with the balls to consistently do it. Because they're afraid of the repercussions, and understandably, it could cause a war just trying to stop terrorism. But it's a touchy subject, but it's one that even back then was touchy, and it's still touchy now. It's still topical now, that subject of, is it morally right? What's the difference between morally right and politically right? And what's the difference between those two? When do you draw the line? And just a great scene. And I also like the sequences where they have sort of behind the scenes sort of stuff going on with Dean Stockwell's character, who wants to take over the presidency, kind of wants to sabotage things, and Glenn Close ends up being a rock and standing up for James Marshall. I like the actors that play the supporting roles in this film. They're equally effective in their performances. I mean, you have, of course, you have Harrison Ford, and Gary Oldman, Glenn Close, Wendy Crewson as the First Lady, Grace Marshall. I think she did a great job. Liesel Matthews, I thought, was a good actor, child actress as Harrison Ford's daughter. Dean Stockwell, like I mentioned, was good. And even the supporting guys, even the henchmen that were played by, the henchmen of Ivan, Gary Oldman, were believable and intimidating. They were more intimidating, had more charisma than Corey Ewan and fucking Olympus Has Fallen. That's what I'm saying. Like, that movie really needed a great villain, and it didn't deliver. And that's one of the reasons why I don't love that movie. I would have loved Olympus Has Fallen if it had a villain like Gary Oldman in it. No. Had to half-ass it. William H. Macy in an early role. Great to see him, and it really was sucked when he died. Xander Berkeley as Agent Gibbs. He was a turncoat. And that's one part of the movie I don't get. And I found out that there was an explanation for that. Why he was a bad guy. Because the scenes were cut from the script explaining why he was a mole. According to director Wolfgang Petersen, Gibbs is a former CIA agent who lost a lot after the end of the Cold War and thus became angry with the American government. The hijackers never revealed to anyone Gibbs' true identity, to the point where they also tie him up along with President Marshall, Major Caldwell, and Chief of Staff Lloyd Shepard. But there were moments in the film where he's just actively helping the president, and like he could have easily sabotaged shit right then and there, but like he's just waiting till this one moment where the president, is the last one with the be zip-lined off the plane, and now he's like, I'm getting off this plane no matter what. And it's like Harrison Ford's like, bullshit, you are. Knocks the gun out of his hands and punches him in the face, takes the zip line, the guy, goes down with the plane. But it's kind of like, okay, that would have helped a little bit. That shouldn't have been cut out. I understand it might help for running time, but it shouldn't have been cut out. Or it should add another plot, which I thought was going on, is that the Dean Stockwell character, he had an inside guy. So there was two terrorist things going on. There was Radek, or he was involved with Radek too. He was involved with the Radek thing with Ivan because he wanted the presidency. So he paid people off, pulled strings so he could get the presidency. That's why he wanted Glenn Close to sign those papers, sign off, the whatever the paper that shows that the president's no longer in power and that he can take over because, he wanted to be the president. So he would do everything he can, pull the strings and so forth. I thought that was going on, but that's not what was going on. But, hey, it's okay. It's a little tiny problem I have with the film, with the plot, because it's not explained. You don't know why he's a bad guy. You don't know why he shot his own fellow Secret Service agents and wants to kill the president in the movie. Just like, I'm getting off this plane. It's like, I'm the president of the United States. It's like, yeah, whatever. You signed you to protect me. Oh, so will the next one. And you're like, okay, all right, what? But I'm glad they explained that later. And yeah, just a lot of great, not really super long action sequences, but they were long enough, and they stuck with you. First time Harrison Ford, stops one of the terrorists, down and dirty, tense scene, smacks a dude in the face with the chair, then he goes in and hides in the, underneath the plane, where they have all the food and shit, fucks up a bunch of other guys, sequence at the end where he cuts out of the tape and beats the shit out of Gary Oldman and kills his advisor guy and goes and tries to save his family. And of course, the memorable thing, ties a fucking thing around Gary Oldman's neck. Get off my plane! It's just such a crowd-pleasing moment. That's another thing that's missing from action movies today. Crowd-pleasing moments, like you just get up and cheer, like, yes! And that's what I did after Gary Oldman got his ass hanged finally out of the goddamn plane. It's like, yes, get off his fucking plane! A lot of movies and action films are missing that. Even just regular, movies. Those crowd-pleasing moments where you get up out of your chair and you cheer. And there were a good amount of those. I clapped at the end of this movie. I teared up at certain moments. The moment where he's Harrison Ford, great acting in this scene, where he finally succumbs to Ivan, and he's like, don't you do that. Just anything. Just leave my family alone. And the way that his acting was just stellar. I believe the tears were real. I believe the performance. I believed in everything. And I believe that these were really his family, and he'd do anything to save them. And, I love the whole dynamic where, he's the president of the United States. He doesn't have the right to do this. And I'm like, bullshit, it's his family. If you were in this scenario, you would do the same thing. You'd sacrifice everything that you have for your family. President of the United States or not, when you're in that scenario, more than likely, you're going to do whatever you can to save those that you love. And that's what he did. As cliched as it sounds, it's true. There are some things people sound as the cliches, but really it's true. That's a cliche that is really reality. Who wouldn't? I would do the same thing. I'd die for people I love. It came to that. And that's what Harrison Ford's character, what James Marshall was willing to do. Is, sacrifice himself. Put his body on the line. Put his life on the line for his family. And that's admirable. That's great. Anyway, I really don't know what else to say about Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford was great in this movie, but I really don't know what else to say about Air Force One. It was a great film. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it yet. Like I said, it's the best film in this genre of airplane hijacking films because it jumps out of the box. Because it doesn't have the limitations of a tiny passenger airline. It's Air Force One. And you got a great villain, charismatic villain, who's multifaceted. He's not. I don't think he was a cliched villain. There were things about his motivations, the lines that Gary Oldman said, like, I have a family, I have a wife, and I have 3 children. You don't believe me? I do. That kind of idea. That whole. I turned my back on God for Mother Russia. This really. It's zealot, but also I like the way that they. They don't paint him as like typical no humanity. He does have some humanity, but he's pushing that up to the wayside so he can release General Jurgen Prochnow. It's probably a little favor from the director Wolfgang Petersen, who worked with him with Das Boot. But yeah, Gary Oldman was great. One of my favorite villain performances on film is Gary Oldman as Ivan in this film, and it's honestly kind of underrated. Should be up there with some of the best villains in action movies, in my opinion. He's great in this. Harrison Ford's great, as usual. And, the good supporting cast and a good plot. And the action is really well done and well shot and exciting to watch. And it moves along at a fast pace. And it's everything I want and everything I could ever ask for out of an action film. And this movie has things that a lot of action films should take notes. Action films today need to take notes from this movie. Learn how to make action films like this again. That'd be nice. Maybe action films will become box office, dominate the box office again because they're kind of slipping down a little bit. I hate to say that Swishy Loki is our poster child for the number one villain of this generation. I just don't like that. That's really too bad. We can do better. The action genre can do better. And in terms of airplane hijacking movies, I don't think you can do better than this. Great, mix of great actors, a good screenplay, a fantastic score. It was done under short notice, and a great director who knows what he's doing, who doesn't shake the camera around, doesn't make the movie look like a daytime TV show on a $130 million budget. This had an $85 million budget, and it looked like it. Doesn't look like some made-for-TV movie like shit like the RoboCop remake. There's no excuses for modern day movies with $130 million budgets to not look like $130 million budget movies. R.I.P.D. Ripped the fart out of my ass. Talking to you with their $130 million budget isn't like it's anywhere to be found on the screen. This had an $85 million budget and it looked like it. Like I said before in other videos, the state of films today is fucking tragic. And the action genre, it almost makes me want to cry. Make movies like this again, please. Because I'm tired of being sad watching action movies nowadays. Anyway, folks, for watching my review of Air Force One, and I will see you guys later. See ya.